Alright, I'm on video for a minute, so.
Okay.
Balls and wieners!
Is it recorded?
Yeah, it is recording.
Oh, it is.
Hi, Mom.
That'll make the YouTube cut. Alright, so here's how we want to do this, guys. We've got a stock GM53 manifold. We need to put a V-band on it so we can get this thing all set up for boost. So, first step, you're going to take the TIG welder here, get a rod. You're going to get these manifold studs really hot so we can get them out of the way. And there you go, just like that. New flange is installed and you are ready to go for boost. Hey guys, welcome back to the Golden Door Garage. So this is the last video before the end of No Shave November, and this will go away. But this episode is going to be entertaining for you guys. You're going to get to see the highest and the lowest points of the Corolla build thus far, and hopefully you guys enjoy it more than I did. You remember that Volvo that came in that had this stainless exhaust on it? Well, I ended up keeping the stainless exhaust. The customer let me have it. I tossed it up on top of the spray booth over there. Just pulled it down because I finally think I've got a purpose for it. We had these previously, and unfortunately the flanges aren't right. I could have modified that. We found a few cracks in them. Overall, the quality just wasn't there. These are going to be a much nicer piece, so we're going to use these partnered up with that pile of stainless, see what we can come up with. All right, guys, so I was going to give you the whole rundown and show you all of the amazing build, but it's just too cool, so I'll montage some stuff after the fact here probably, but check this out. Bam! Look at that. It looks so good. Super pleased with that. Still have to do intercooler piping, but this is going to be awesome. Let's go ahead and pop the hood off and take a look at what we came up with for exhaust. That is going to be amazing. So we got those stainless headers in, built all the exhaust out. I threw a water pump on and set up some bracketry here in the front. Got the irradiator mounted, the intercooler mounted. Now I'm going to go ahead and set the intake back on. I still have to cut a hole in the hood for that, but that's not a big deal. And then get the rest of the accessories on, alternator, that kind of stuff. Okay, so that was top of the charts right there. That was cloud 9. And I am about to get knocked off of my pedestal. Really beautiful parts here. Billet speed, alternator mount, and idler pulley. Should make this nice and simple since we're not going to have power steering and air conditioning and a bunch of the other stuff. It's not going well, guys. I've tried about 50 different arrangements. This is actually back to the designed mounting points for this bracket. But with my headers that I flipped over because of the way my motor mounts were designed, the alternator doesn't clear now. And when I also turned my filler neck around on the water pump because of the exhaust, which I didn't think that'd be an issue, except that it then puts it in line with my belt drive, and I'm gonna have a problem there. And after a lot of effort and sorting, I've determined that we have to redo some stuff. So it kind of looks like the Corolla project is going to be, to a degree, started over. I need to rebuild the engine motor mounts that I built in episode 1 for the shop cars so that I can put the new manifolds on opposite sides so that they come out lower and don't interfere with my alternator or my water pump thermostat housing, which means I have to redo the exhaust, which means I have to redo where my turbo mounts, even though I've already cut a hole in the hood. So I'm gonna have to get that to line back up. Wow, what a frustration, because it looks so cool. I was super happy with that. Oh well, that is just part of it, I guess. Built lots of cars, had never run into this kind of issue before, but I will just intend to put the entire accessory drive, belt, all of that on, upper and lower radiator hoses on, and then start my exhaust. I guess on the plus side though, instead of reusing the old stainless like I had done here, I'm gonna go ahead and order some flanges, get stuff coming. I've got a bunch of titanium left over from the Volvo build as well. And I guess I'm gonna build myself a truly full custom titanium exhaust for this. All right, now for some footage of how I got there, showcasing once the exhaust was on, building the pieces for mounting the radiator, the intercooler, taking out the core support, that kind of stuff. The exhaust from the Volvo has been cut up and is now this. This is our full stainless exhaust. This is how we're going to tie everything together. That's where the turbo is officially going to live. Pretty happy with that. So now the next step is I've got to take and cut on that core support there and figure out how to get this radiator to fit. It can't go behind the core support like normal because there's not a lot of room, but that's okay. So I got to get that put in. Then once it's mounted, I can work on figuring out how to get my charge piping for that intercooler and getting the intercooler mounted up here. Let's see what we can do.
Now is the time for action.
Now I have the radiator and it sits in here, but I need it to actually sit just a tiny bit lower. It's hanging up on the petcock and the lower radiator hose output. So I'm going to go ahead and notch the bottom section of the core support out, and then I should have enough clearance that I can get everything to line up. I got to be careful on this side with the lower radiator hose because it's going to be pretty close to this exhaust, so we'll probably have to build a heat shield for that. Two brackets, flip them over. Now they fit right there. I can weld those back in. And I've got my clearance while retaining some of the structure. Okay, so with all of that cut out and clearanced for the radiator petcock and the lower radiator hose, now it's time to break out my favorite tool in the whole shop, the STV CNC plasma, and I'm going to use that to cut and build a flat bracket that'll go across the bottom there, stick out, and encompass not only being a radiator support on the bottom, but then also my intercooler mount. Let's do it. All right, guys, so I've said that the STV CNC is my favorite tool in the shop, and that's because it is. It can build anything if you can just figure it out in your head, design it. If you know what you need, if you've got measurements, if you found a file online, you can buy files. You can make about anything. So, like I said, I'm going to build an intercooler mount and a radiator mount for the bottom side of the Corolla. I'm going to do it out of 10 gauge steel, so it'll be very structural, nice and sound, and it ought to help sturdy up the front end there where I've already cut some other material out. So all I got to do is program it into the CNC with the included MiniCAD software, which is really a lot easier than you would think. Check this out. All right, guys, when I say this thing's easy to use, I mean it. So overall length is going to be 12 inches. Then we need to come down 4 inches on each side. Perfect. And I'm going to need to splay out to 2 foot, so that'll be 6 inches added to each side. Come down 4 inches. Now I want it to be 3, so we'll scroll in, get that done, lined up on 3, come down on this one, same thing, scroll in to get that finer detail, drop it down to 3 inches, then I can hook it all together and it's done. All I got to do is come up here, click export, it drops it right in. I'm going to add that over into my cut area. The way I have the piece of material oriented, I actually need to rotate this. That's not hard. Come up here, select rotate. Then I want this to be cutting so that I have the inside portion is all good. So the outside is scrap. Set the outside as my scrap point. That means that it will lead into the cut like that. And we are all set. Now it's loaded in. I've already told the plasma where it's currently located. I'll set my 0 point and it's ready to go. At this point, I've come over here, I've set all of my cut settings and parameters, and all I gotta do is click the little play button. I can grab my part out and we are all set. Look at that, nice clean cuts. Everything's ready to go. And there you go, STV CNC made it easy. Designed that up in a matter of moments. Then I cut it. Now everything is set. I'm gonna drill 2 holes in this for the transcooler lines that come off the bottom, and beautiful. Those 2 brackets turned out absolutely perfect. Now all I've got left is to put the radiator back in. This plate's welded solid. I'm gonna weld these 2 to the base there. And then I gotta drill holes for my bottom intercooler mount. When I set the radiator in, I put a piece of 1/4-inch plate underneath it to raise it up so that the bolt holes there will actually keep it up off of the bottom plate so that it's not resting directly on it, rubbing, causing an issue down the line. And look at that. All mounted up, nice looking. Very happy with how that bracket came out. I think that's going to do a great job at holding the intercooler and the radiator where we want them. I am going to still add 1 piece to tie from here into the actual core support at some point, but before I do that, I want to make sure and see what I'm going to do going across. Just like that, the STV CNC helps us out. We got our radiator and intercooler mounted. I went ahead and threw a water pump on, and I was going to do all my charge piping, but it occurred to me that I need to go ahead and finish my belt routing and figure out where I'm going to put an alternator, probably here. That way I can then run my charge piping and have this thing finished up. But I'm kind of thinking the front end isn't very finished out, and I have a little valance panel here. I'm going to try and make some spacers to bring that out and clear the intercooler, and then I guess I kind of want to see this thing with a hood on it. So there you go. That's all the work that went into getting ready for the disappointment. But it's not the only disappointment. Look at what happened during lunch. Today is just generally not going well. First, all of the massive issues with the car. And then I just tried to relax and sit down and have lunch. And my fork broke. Today is a complete emotional roller coaster, and all is now again right because Ben just unveiled that he got me a golden fork to go to the Golden Door Garage. I'm going to continue my lunch now. Well, guys, it was certainly a rough day, but at the same time, that happens when you're in a shop. That happens when you're working on custom projects, building hot rods. Sometimes things don't go as planned. Sometimes steps that were a lot earlier interfere with things further on down the line in the build. Just part of it. Overall, I'm not discouraged. The Corolla build is still going along really well, and I still intend that we are going to have this thing fired up before the end of the year. Awesome new parts and cool stuff coming in the future episodes, so stay tuned for those for sure. And like, follow, and subscribe. We love you guys. We appreciate all the support. Also, want to give a shout out to STV CNC. They don't sponsor us. I wish they would. Hint, hint, guys. But absolutely awesome company. I love this thing. It is seriously the coolest machine that I've ever had access to. If you think you could use something like this in your shop, check them out. They offer financing options. They've got tables in multiple sizes. They've got modular tables so that you can expand, and tons of awesome stuff. The project's going well. This thing's running well, and we're going to get it all done. Thank you for everything, and we will see you guys next time.